and this did it justice in a way I didn't imagine it could. You will cry.
Well, of course, those were tweets, initial tweets.
Not our tweets.
Not our tweets.
We didn't say any of those things, but people did say that.
After the premiere, the glitz and glamour of the premiere, you're all revved up with excitement. The stars are there.
And you want to get invited to future premieres.
And that's the most important thing, Jay. Although I will acknowledge it's possible that is the actual thoughts of those people.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible.
You know, if you grew up with like Vines, like 5-second videos, this is like a lot of Vines just strung together.
It's a good way to describe it. Lots going on, lots to talk about.
I think this is 6 decent movies that are just condensed into one rushed, kind of sloppy mess.
Where does the decent part come in then?
I think if you actually took your time and let all of the shit they just keep throwing at you, like, let some of these plot elements breathe a bit. There's a scene where they introduce an old flame of Pose, and she's introduced in one scene, and then her character bit is resolved in the very next scene, and then she vanishes from the movie.
That's kind of the whole movie, yeah.
The movie is like an outline for like 3 seasons of a TV show.
The people that are raving about this movie, and I didn't hate it. There were some good parts. It's very complicated, and it's hard to break down because so much is thrown at you. If you're easily manipulated, so much happens that your brain can't keep up.
So much happens so quickly that you don't have time to think about it before it's moved on to like 6 other things. You went to the bathroom at one point, you were gone for 1 minute, and you missed like 15 different plot points.
Chewbacca was kidnapped, blown up, and then he was alive again.
I saw him get blown up. I knew he was going to be alive because you see him and Lando flying the Falcon in the trailer. But listen, can I talk about the elephant in the room?
What is the elephant in the room? Is it The Last Jedi?
That none of this
matters?
That this is not my fault.
No, any amount of hate that Star Wars has ever gotten in the last 10 years is all specifically your fault, Mike.
Well, okay. Mr. Plinkett had said J.J. Abrams would be great at directing Star Wars films. Way back in the day. Do you remember this?
Yeah,
Rich?
I do remember that,
okay.
Yes.
You see, in my opinion, where the prequels utterly failed, Star Trek excelled. Star Trek is really engaging. It's fun, adventurous, fast-paced. Heroes are heroes, and villains are villains. And at the very least, you know what's happening. It's everything we did not get in the prequels. At no point were we completely bored and confused.
I can't lock on your signal. You're moving too fast.
I can do that. I can do that. Take the code.
The black hole's expanding. We won't reach minimum safe distance if we don't leave immediately.
Hold on. Compensating gravitational pull.
Your Highness, with your permission, we're heading for a remote planet called Tatooine. It's in a system far beyond the reach of the track.
In fact, J.J. Abrams should have directed the prequels, and George Lucas should have directed people to their seats in the theater.
This was before the sequels. This was before Disney acquired Star Wars, space action, and emotions. And J.J. Abrams is good at both. He is not good at writing the stories that he directs.
That is absolutely true.
So I wanted to clarify all that. The Force Awakens, written by Lawrence Kasdan, who wrote Empire, and then I think it was Jedi.
Or Jedi, yeah. No one talks about that, though. They just talk about Empire, because that's the great one.
Lawrence Kasdan wrote, and well, here, write a new. What do you want me to do? The soft reboot. Oh, okay. You know, and then he wrote.
You're gonna just write the same story again?
I get paid to write the same script again? Okay. So then Lawrence Kasdan's out, and then Rian Johnson takes over, and we all know what happened there. But really, JJ.
Let's be specific. Nothing happened there.
Right.
The Last Jedi was a big waste of time. And so it feels like The Rise of Skywalker is making up for that. It's trying to do things that the middle movie should have done.
It's sprinting to the finish line. Let's just get this fucking over with.
It's the end of school.
And that's a big problem.
Well, it's interesting because like The Last Jedi, it's like, oh, everything that was set up in The Force Awakens, none of it matters. Fuck it. And then this movie is like, oh, everything that happened in The Last Jedi, none of it matters. Fuck it. And it's like, okay, this is like, in years to come, this will be taught as an example of how not to plan a franchise.
It would be directly contrasted with Marvel.
Yes.
Did J.J. Abrams spin straw into bronze? You think? I think that's a good way to describe this because he was given a big pile of straw with those camel things piss all over it, right?
Yeah.
The things that ran through the casino. He was given a big pile of that straw, and I think he spun it into bronze. Maybe.
I think that's fair.
Maybe what's a lesser metal than bronze?
I was gonna say I don't want to give him that much credit, but it's a situation where like
aluminum.
Okay.
It's not. It's you know what? It's not very fancy, but it's very practical and useful.
Yes, it serves its purpose, and it can be recycled. No, because I mean, there's so much to talk about. And we're gonna go
It's
on
a
tangents.
mess.
I just wanted to wrap up my "this is not my fault" thing, because people have been. First of all, the idea that Mr. Plinkett saying J.J. Abrams would make a great director for Star Wars movies had absolutely no impact on J.J. Abrams being chose to direct The Force Awakens. Okay, zero.
You don't know that.
I guess I don't. But I never said he should write it with the guy who wrote Batman versus Superman. Couldn't they have grabbed literally anyone? J.J. Abrams has that sense of action and excitement and drama and stuff, but you just need a really good story to go with that. And of course, they looked at this movie, how everyone in the world was going to be looking at it. It's like politics, like split right down the middle. Some people, half people like Last Jedi, half people didn't, and there were only so many things you could do. And like you said, they just started throwing everything in there to try and make it work for everybody.
Well,
and in the end, it becomes a giant mess.
They had nothing, and so they had to establish everything and then have it pay off, rather than the series naturally leading up to something.
And it was somebody's brilliant idea. They said, oh, by the way, spoilers. From here on out, spoilers. Nobody's watching this unless they've seen the movie, so it doesn't matter. Is Rey a Skywalker? Is she a nobody?
She's both.
How about she's a Palpatine, right?
Yeah,
Someone said, oh, who has force powers? The Skywalkers have force powers. Who else? Oh, she's a Windu? Well, no. I guess that wouldn't work. She's a Coyote Mundi. She's Coyote Mundi's daughter. I mean, she's got a little bit of a forehead, right?
You're making a sequel series of movies based on Star Wars. What do? You need to have a Jedi character, right? You need to have a young person who picks up a sword.
We've gone through all this. You're treading water. Why wasn't...
Like Star Wars?
If Rey was Palpatine's granddaughter, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't...
That means that Palpatine had sex with a
That
lady
means Palpatine...
with his fucked up face, right? It wouldn't be pre-fucked up face.
Anyways, my point is, Palpatine's direct daughter, who got killed, remember? Her and the husband were like stolen and they were stabbed. Why wasn't she poised to be Empress Palpatine?
Because
why,
none of
why
this
did
was
he kill her?
planned. Look, it's Lando. We've moved on.
Like,
Chewbacca's getting a medal. Shut up and watch.
If we move fast enough, nobody will notice.
I mean, this
is like, because I think we talked about that with Into Darkness. That was like the extreme example of
This
keep the thing moving. This is like Into Darkness times 100 in terms of just don't pay attention. We're just gonna keep moving.
She's a nobody. Nobody liked that. She's a Skywalker. Too predictable. I guess she could be a Kenobi, but he was technically supposed to be celibate. That would have been a better tie-in, because they're making the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Obi-Wan Kenobi, in between, remember he left to be a hermit?
Yeah.
And we thought he was going to stay there for 60 years until he became Alec Guinness.
Hello there.
But I guess he went off. He's going to go off on a whole bunch of adventures, and maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi loses his faith a little in the Force and Jediism, and has a wife.
Don't you hear his voice in The Force Awakens briefly? So maybe that was the plan.
Isn't that less interesting though than if a bloodline is evil? Even though they already did that with Luke Skywalker.
Is she going to turn to the dark side or not? That's the movie.
Yeah.
I think the idea to bring Palpatine back probably came first before the idea to have Rey be related to him, because it's like, oh, we don't have Snoke, we don't have a villain for this trilogy. Bring back Palpatine. That's all we got. He's got a jar full of Snokes. That was my first laugh in the movie.
That was the best thing.
All these floating Snokes in a gigantic tank.
He literally made Snoke.
It's so dumb. But it's dumb in that, like, well, what do we do? How do we tie any of this shit together or make any sense of it?
They killed Snoke. Kylo Ren was a dipshit. You either bring in a new unseen Sith Lord for your final act, or you just bite the bullet and you bring back Palpatine. And as dumb as it was the smart choice.
Was it?
Look, smart choice would have been not to make the movies.
No, the
Plan
smart
everything
choice
out.
would have been to plan it out extensively from the beginning.
Look, I am thankful that Palpatine is back because I love Palpy, and he gets pretty hammy towards the end, more than I was expecting him to.
But
Less than I wanted him to, though.
That's true. It's kind of right in between, kind of like
Yeah.
the movie. It's
we
right
also
in the
need to address the fact that Palpatine in Jedi was just a mere clone.
He was?
Yes, he died.
Oh, but this movie he's back. He's
No,
not did they say he's a clone
Yes.
in this movie?
He says he's died many times.
Yes.
Oh.
I
The
think
real Palpatine lives on this spooky lightning planet in the thing, and he's like the Wizard of Oz. He's been pulling the strings. Many Palpatines have existed that have died.
See, this is
Actually,
the thing where
I have a different interpretation. I think the real Palpatine is the conglomeration of thousands of all of the dead Siths. That's the consciousness that keeps going on into the new body.
So why is he still in Palpatine's body in this?
Because he survived the Death Star crash, or so
No,
Ian
see,
McDiarmid could play the
that's
part.
point A. That's why we thought Palpatine was living in the ruins of the Death Star with an Ewok
That's true,
death
he
cult.
wasn't there.
He wasn't there. No,
Okay,
he
maybe
was on a
you're right.
completely different
You're
planet
right.
that was inaccessible because it had that red electric gas cloud with
But he's all fucked up though. His eyes are pure white. His fingers are like burnt and missing.
He has tubes in him. The Palpatine with the white eyes that we see in this movie is super, super, super ancient, being kept alive by tubes and chemicals. That's why he's connected to that giant thing.
It's the same body that survived the Death Star. No.
The Palpatine on the Death Star was a clone of him. Because the Palpatine on the Death Star just vaporized.
Why would the new Palpatine clone have burnt fingers?
Because
And look just like
his
a real person. Because before he turned into Palpatine, he was just Chancellor Palpatine.
No, Chancellor Palpatine must have been a clone of him.
All along?
Yeah, because they never called him Sidious. They called him Palpatine.
Yeah.
So Palpatine is the source of everything evil, the source of all Siths.
Well, this is all horribly
cloned-
uninteresting.
In his younger days, 1,000, 2,000 years ago, he probably looked like Chancellor Palpatine.
Okay.
So he cloned himself, created a guy named Palpatine, Chancellor Palpatine, who then became Darth Sidious.
Oh, okay. So you're saying the person we saw at the end of this movie, we technically have never seen before.
Right.
That would suck.
Yes. Why there were no other Palpatines, I have no idea.
Look, it's Maz Kanata.
Because that's their excuse for saying Palpatine died. It would have been better if, you showed Palpatine falling down and that big blue energy blast comes up, and he's just like falling down. He has like a force bubble around him. And he lands in some corridor, and I've got to get out of here, and he runs into a ship. That would have been more appropriate or better. You know what I mean?
Would it?
Yeah.
I think he doesn't have to even run around. I think he just survives the explosion and he's floating around for a bit before his henchmen pick him up.
Leia survived space.
No.
I mean, like, when we see the Death Star #2 explode, like, it is completely obliterated.
Yeah.
Like, and then there is so much wreckage down there.
It's completely obliterated, yet you still got, like, the fucking hull of it on that planet.
I
Even
know.
though it was fucking atoms.
Right.
At some point, I'm willing to look the other way.
Well, sure. But
It's fine.
That was a good reason to have him still be alive. I mean, he's powerful, he's
Yeah.
strong, you know. Either way, it negates Vader's sacrifice of throwing him down the pit.
Oh, yeah.
So, but who cares anymore? Who gives a shit?
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. So hard, makes me say, oh my Lord.
I mean, I don't know. Let me ask you
Go ahead.
a shocking question. Which one do you like better, The Last Jedi or this?
Oh, this.
That's a tough question. I don't know if I can answer it, especially after we just saw this one.
It'll take some time.
The Last Jedi, for all of its problems, at least it felt like it was trying to have themes, you know, about like real Luke versus everybody's sort of mythical idea of who Luke is.
You don't need Luke Skywalker.
And this is just like a bunch of garbage. This is just like a bunch of nonsense. Like, what can we do to salvage this? And like overcompensating by having too much in it. So I don't think either of them are particularly good, but I think Last Jedi is probably more interesting.
For the record, I'm not particularly in love with any of these.
Well, that goes without saying, I think.
Yeah.
We've known that for a while. I would probably lean towards Last Jedi at this moment. But I understand the position that Abrams and company were put in to try and satisfy the fan base, satisfy those who didn't like Last Jedi, satisfy those who did, make their money.
Yeah. The problem is you don't have, like we were saying, you don't have an overall plan. So you don't have an overall like core or like central kind of conflict for these characters. They're just winging it.
Right.
And so like I didn't feel anything for
Right.
like Rey during this. I know a lot of people don't like Rey anyway, but you know.
And
start
you're
it out.
definitely not going to like this if you don't like Rey.
If you're one of those diehard, like, I hate Rey because she's a Mary Sue, here she's like healing wounds. She's like Jesus. Yeah. It's like they double down, like they're trolling the people that don't like Rey with this one.
Was that the thing that J.J. Abrams was referring to? Like, I'm introducing a new force power that's going to
Probably.
piss some fans off.
She uses more force powers in this than in the entire original trilogy combined. She's like doing everything.
What is she training for so hard?
And why is Leia training her? Because we got some leftover footage.
The
Because they
rule of
killed
two.
Luke.
Yeah.
Because they killed Luke. Yeah, you got to do
Because everyone
something.
wants that training sequence. It even looked like Dagobah. But like, yeah, Rey healing people, like, it's like, all right. But then you get super nerds saying, why didn't Obi-Wan?
Well, that's the thing.
heal
You
Qui-Gon?
introduce that, and I know the little baby Yoda does that on the Mandalorian in one scene. So they're connecting it with that. But yeah, introducing that opens a whole can of worms about why haven't the Jedi done this before and all this stuff.
Why haven't the Jedi ever run really fast before like they did in the beginning of the Phantom Menace?
Exactly. There's things like that, or Luke jumping really high in Empire.
They jump high in this
They do. They do.
Yeah.
when
Yes,
the waves are
they've done
coming.
that.
I think that's the overall problem, though, is like the Jedi can do anything, but rarely do.
Why don't they do the mind trick more?
Yeah.
Why do they ever even bother with the laser sword? Why don't they just always pick everybody up and just slam them into the ground with their mind?
Exactly. That's kind of the problem with the Jedi in general.
Well, because all that stuff was never the heart of the role. Well, because all that stuff was never the heart of.
No,
story.
it was all the background to the characters and the character drama, and this new series doesn't have that.
I mean, there's some drama between Kylo Ren and Rey, and I think that was the best part of the movie for me.
Adam Driver has
Because I actually-
carried this franchise.
Adam Driver is a great actor. I just got done watching Marriage Story.
He's great in that. He's so good.
You know what's amazing about Marriage Story? It stars Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, both actors in gigantic blockbuster franchises, and here they're doing this nice small little movie.
The whole movie is them just talking in rooms.
I thought we should talk.
Okay.
I don't know how to start.
It's just them just smearing the screen with their acting chops. And it's great, especially Scarlett Johansson. She has so many like extremely long like monologues.
Yeah, that scene where she's talking to Laura Dern. This is an hour review of Marriage Story, by the way. Yeah.
And Laura Dern too.
Laura Dern's great.
Admiral
Holdo, who they mention in this, and they're like, why don't we do that maneuver that Holdo did? And they're like, ignore that. It's too risky.
It's a 1 in a million shot.
We can't do it again because the movie has to happen. I don't know. And it was like an 80-yard line. It's like they thought of it later.
Yeah. That's as they say, that's a 1 in a million shot. I mean, it'll never work.
Yeah.
Why not?
And then the movie keeps going.
Yeah. But anyway, Marriage Story.
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adam Driver is so good, and I can see people complaining in this about the scene where he's talking to Harrison Ford, because it's like, what's Harrison Ford? He's not a Force ghost. He's taking it way too literal.
That was a great scene too.
It was a good scene, even though Harrison Ford looked like he just rolled out of bed.
He refused to get his hair cut. I ain't cutting my hair. I'll do the fucking scene, but I'm not cutting my hair. Your hair is like really long, and you look like a bum. It looks much worse.
Can you at least shave?
Yeah. No, I'll do the fucking scene. They had to call in some major favors to get him on set. But you know, Harrison Ford sold it, and Adam Driver. I mean,
he's the closest the series has to any sort of like real character drama.
Him and Ray gone and flipped sides. You know, Ray became I'm the bad guy, and I'm the good guy. She does the thing where see little moments like that are what stand out. What doesn't stand out is just
surrounded by
the bombardment of nonsensical action and keeping the plot moving. And
there's like 16 set pieces.
Well, yes, and all the stupid little things that they're not stupid, but they're little things that are just you could tell they went back and how does Ray heal him? Oh, that's going to be weird. Let's have a scene where a giant snake.
An inconsequential monster that she just heals.
Okay, and then Kerry Russell, oh, by the way, I have this magical coin that will give you access to anything in the First Order.
She just has it.
Oh, take it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's going to come up later. And it's like, okay, well, how do we get him on the ship? Well, how about we go back 15 scenes to when Kerry Russell's talking to
Oscar
Isaac. And she just gives it to him, gives him this thing. Fuck it. It's like going back, and they're just like throwing shit here and there, and it happens so fast. No. Kerry Russell, all we saw was her eyes.
Were you actually allowed to like make the pew pew sounds when you were firing blasters?
I've actually been told in movies we can see your mouth making it.
Was she even in the film? You know why she was in the film?
Because she was on a show with J.J. Abrams 20 years ago.
Called Felicity, and J.J. Abrams says, hey, why don't you be this stupid part in this movie?
You're a known actress.
You'll work for 4 days,
yeah,
and I'll write in your contract that you get 0.5% of the back end, and you're going to make $7 to $9 million by being a main character in this film and doing nothing.
Yeah. What's the same with
wink, wink, my friend Kerry Russell. You're playing Zori Bliss, like an utterly pointless character.
Well, it's the same with Dominic Moynihan, he has like one line in this movie, who was on Lost, that J.J. Abrams produced.
I'm in it a little bit. Blink and you'll miss me is the name of my character. I'm very excited.
He's in the Lord of the Rings movies. He's one of the main characters, and here he's like out of focus in the background. The little planet that they go to where she was introduced, I kind of like that, the way they're like sneaking around with it. Like it looked like a little like village during World War II.
Oh yeah,
that
was the implication.
I know, it's snowing.
But we gotta rush through it. We got other things to do. We got too much to do. We got too much to do. Just get through as quick as possible.
Spend some time here, let it play out. Remember scenes, everything just goes so quick. Even the things I liked are gone in a flash.
But now Star Destroyers have Death Star guns on them. So wait. Since roughly the Return of the Jedi era, because those are the age of those Star Destroyers, he was conjuring them at set.
He's been working on that Sith planet for 30 years.
At least.
Yes.
So, and then all the people that live, I guess there were red stormtroopers, but they didn't have Sith powers. They were just,
even though they're called Sith troopers,
they were just
worked
loyal.
for the Sith.
It was not part of the First Order.
Yeah.
Or even, I guess, even the Empire, but they were just. Oh, but didn't they look like First Order stormtroopers?
Yes.
Wouldn't they look like classics?
Don't think about it.
if the Star
They're
Destroyers...
in the movie for 5 seconds. It doesn't matter.
We gotta move on. We gotta move on. There's other things
But,
we gotta...
but if the Star Destroyers look like classic Star Destroyers...
Wait, now Ray has to go to this planet
Oh,
to get
no,
this
sorry.
thing.
Here's a magical space coin that will grant you access to the Supreme Leader's Star Destroyer. But anyway.
Look at these horses!
So wait, almost an entire, more than a generation of human beings lived and worked aboard Star Destroyers, basically hovering in formation.
No, because they came up from the ground at the start of the movie.
So they were
all underground.
Did he conjure those people with Sith powers or Sith magic? Or were they just living and working on Star Destroyers?
I'm going to assume they were living and working on Star Destroyers. He just had his loyalist faction on that planet hidden away and no one else knew about it. That's what I'm assuming, but I could easily be wrong because it's not explained because we gotta get through it. We gotta get through it.
Were all the people in the hoods in the giant arena at the end, were those people?
I thought they were the embodiments of the thousands of dead Sith that had come before. That was
That's how I interpreted
my
it.
interpretation, but I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
I thought they were all like an illusion.
Well, it's the same thing.
Same basic thing.
Some character at some point said Palpatine was conjuring Star Destroyers, meaning they weren't being built in a giant space factory or
just willing them into existence?
Yes, slowly with Sith power.
That's stupid, but we are talking about Star Wars.
Because I think that was their cut around of people asking logical questions like who built the Star Destroyers. In Star Wars, you have the magic of the Jedi, which is in real Star Wars, right? The original.
Okay,
thing.
yeah.
You have the magic of the Jedi that's always kind of like low key,
Subtle.
subtle. And then you had the nuts and bolts kind of real world stuff, the X-Wings and the Star Destroyers that would break down, droids, things like that. And in this, they've merged them because you sit there and you ask who built. These are actual machines. They're actual spaceships. Like, who built them? There's 10,000 of them. Who is building them, and how does this go unnoticed?
See, it's Star Wars, and none of that is important, and that's kind of why I hate Star Wars.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is like the nail in the coffin, as far as with the exception of, Mandalorian.
That's a whole other discussion.
Mandalorian, a lovely departure from Star Wars. A great show.
It's not nonstop noise.
It's not perfect, but it's great in comparison to this. Like, this is like a shit show. Yeah. The more you think about it, and I think those tweets that we read at the beginning of this are people coming out of this.
Overwhelmed by stimulation.
Stimulation that you're there at the premiere and everyone's excited and oh my gosh,
you're seeing
emotions.
things
Seeing things, yeah. And a lot of reviews were saying like fan service, and this wasn't very fan servicey to me.
I mean, it's building on things. It's reintroducing things from the other movies. Like Lando shows up; he's completely useless.
Yeah.
I was really distracted during the big end battle, not just from the fact that things were flying in every direction and there was no sense of geography, but like everyone's taking it so seriously, and then they cut to senile Lando, and he's just like laughing because he doesn't know where he is.
I've always been amazed by the
Little Billy D. Williams.
Little Billy D. Williams.
I was like, oh, that's Lando when he had the mask on,
Oh, sure. Lando. Surprise, surprise. It's Lando in disguise.
Because he was walking.
Surprise, surprise, I'm Lando in disguise.
Because I think Billy D. Williams...
He has a cane. He can barely walk.
So it's like, he's like, hey, guys, come on, run. Get on this thing.
Yeah.
And then he's got a little bar stool under him, and he's like, I'm kind of... So I was like, oh, that's Lando. Yeah. But
the worst in terms of fan service, as far as like something that took me right out of the movie, was at the end when Maz Kanata gives Chewbacca his
the medal after 40 years.
Yeah.
Chewie, this is for you.
Why does she have it? Why would she give it to him at this moment?
It was
it's for the
Hans.
audience's sake.
It got lost in the mail. She found it in the same spot she found Luke's lightsaber.
Oh
from
yeah,
Bespin.
but that's a story for another time that we never got to.
Nope. Well, yeah. Maz Kanata had Luke Skywalker's lightsaber.
The janitor found it. It's fine.
It's the story.